Hello everyone, back at it again, trying to find you some of the best fishing deals on the web. And Tackle Warehouse has an extra 20% off all of its clearance items. So it's a pretty good deal, and the discount doesn't show up until you add the item to your cart. So let's get into it. Casting reels, I've mentioned this Daiwa Tatula 100. There's a new model out. I got this same reel earlier in the year when they were doing Black Friday sales, and I haven't really fished it too much, but so far I think it's great. I've had good luck with the other Daiwa Tatulas. The Shimano Curado 200K, if you need a reel with more line capacity, maybe you're fishing 50, 65 pound braid, this is a good choice. There's a 200M out now, and so this is the old model. If it was up to me, I think you probably would be better off spending a little bit more money and getting the MGL spools, but that's just my opinion. Let's do a few more. The spinning side. These 13 fishing reels, they look good, but I haven't quite pulled the trigger on them yet to test them out. And they're a little heavier than some other, Shimano or Daiwa reels of similar size. And they have this thinner bail wire, and it's not a smooth connection to the line roller. And in other reels, the line can catch there. And, I feel like they're on the right track. They just haven't gotten there. So I'm going to be waiting for some new models for 13 fishing before I try them out. The Revros is a Daiwa reel, and the same thing. I'm trying to get a better picture of it here, but it's not a smooth connection. And again, it has this thinner bail wire. Now, it's plenty smooth. You catch plenty of fish on a 2500 size Revros. But what I would do, and I have a couple of these, is get the Accelera. It has the thicker bail wire, and it has a smooth transition to that line roller. You see it? There's just a little bit of a lip there, but the line doesn't get caught there. It's smooth all the way through to the line roller. So I have this in 1000 size and the 2500. Both are great, especially on sale. Usually in Daiwa, I prefer the 2500. In Shimano, if they're about the same price, I prefer the 3000. But both are good. And this would be for all your drop shot, Ned rig, that kind of stuff. They're really good reels, and they're different than the Fuego in that they're not mag sealed. So if you're not fishing saltwater, I definitely get the Accelera. They're easier to maintain. You don't have to source that special magnetic oil that Daiwa uses in their mag sealed reels. And they're great. They're smooth. The only thing is that they don't cast as far as like the new Shimano Stratix or the Ultegras. But anything where you don't really need the distance and you'll save a bunch of money. So Ned rigs, drop shots, Nico rigs, all that stuff. They're great. They're great reels. I mentioned the Stratic. They have the new long stroke spool on them, which is similar to the old Daiwa SS reels from, I don't know how long ago, 20, 30 years ago. Those were great reels, but the anti-reverse was terrible. The reel would spin a quarter turn in reverse before the anti-reverse caught and then slam your wrist. So this has that long stroke spool, similar idea that Daiwa had many, many years ago. But they've really done a great job with the Stratic FL. To me, the FM isn't that much better than the FL. So I'm thinking about getting another one of these. It has a smooth transition to the line roller, which I like. The long stroke spool really does make a difference. If you need distance, maybe you're a bank angler, or maybe you're trying to reach schooling fish or breaking fish, and they keep, they're 5 yards, 10 yards, just a little bit further out than you can cast. The Stratic really makes a difference. One thing I wanted to point out is that the 2500 is $180, and then you get the 20% on top of that, and the 3000 is $20 more. So the difference is you get a little bit bigger spool, a little bit deeper spool with the 3000. The 2500 is the exact same weight. They're very, very similar reels. I don't think you'd really notice the difference in the spool, but the 3000 comes with a little bit bigger handle. It's more like a T handle, and the 2500 is a smaller handle. So if you don't mind the smaller handle like that, you'll save $20 plus whatever the 20% off is. And it's a great reel. I have the 3000, and I've had Stradics forever, and they last and last and last. If you take care of them and oil them up every once in a while, they're great reels. The Daiwa Procyon, I haven't fished this one. I've fished the Tatula LT, which is great. It's super light. It's hard to balance because it's so light. But for my money, I'd rather just have the Accelera or the Fuego or the Tatula. To me, they all just fish about the same. I don't notice a huge difference when fishing them. I'm sure the Procyon is a little bit more refined, but for me, I would go with the Stradic or the Accelera or the Fuego and save a pile of money there. Rods, we'll do a few of these. I don't have too much to say about some of these 13 fishing or Powell rods. Let's go to this one, the Shimano Intenza. Now, these were on sale for about $99, I think, a couple weeks ago. Tackle Warehouse is doing these rolling sales, and some of the prices jump around a little bit. It's still a good deal, especially with an additional 20% off. So for me, what these rods are really great for is anything you don't need tons of sensitivity or you're trying to cut weight. So for me, that means any of the moderate action rods, like you would fish a crankbait with, or even like a whopper plopper I fish on one of these rods. The only problem I've had is that this silver hook keeper thing has popped off, and it's an easy fix, just a little bit of super glue around the perimeter there, and you squeeze it back on for a minute, and it's done. And I think it's come off once, and I fixed it with super glue. I might have done it twice, but it takes 30 seconds, and you're back in business. The reel seat is this kind of like a textured, I don't know what it is, textured bike grip, it feels like, and it is very grippy. But it feels good. It's not rough or anything, and you get a good grip on the rod just like you would, a bike. The guides aren't anything special, but they're certainly functional. And again, for me, these really shine in terms of value with the moderate rods. There's a medium moderate and a medium heavy moderate, and if you don't need sensitivity, they're great. Save a bunch of money. I fished with some of these St. Croix Mojo rods before. One of them was completely missplined. So rods have a natural bend to them, and the rod I had, the guides were 90 degrees off from where they should have been. They were straight, but the rod wanted to bend one way, and the guides were 90 degrees to that direction. And that's just not great workmanship. So I've never bought another one. Zodius. This one is on sale and then another 20% off. But when I bought a 610 medium heavy Zodius casting rod, when they were doing the rod sale a couple weeks back, and it came up on sale once I finished my transaction. So even when I added it to the cart, it wasn't showing that it was on sale, but in the completed receipt that you get in your email, it did give me the discount. and not just on the 7.2 medium light. It was the 6.10 medium. So if you have a doubt, if you're questioning if it's really on sale or not, it's best to call or email Tackle Warehouse directly, and they can give you a thumbs up or down. These Arc Honey Badger series, these are pretty good rods. They're a little bit thick, they're a little bit heavy. The one I have is I think it's the 7.4 medium heavy moderate fast, and this is the rod I use for chatterbaits. So again, it's not the lightest rod, it's not the thinnest rod, but when you do hook them, they stay pinned. It's a great rod for chatterbaits. The only thing that I don't like is these little micro guides. So if you run braid to leader, which I often do, the connection knot will get jammed in this little micro guide at the tip top. I mean, it's almost the same diameter as the rod blank itself at the tip. It's tiny. That hole there is tiny, and so that's the only gripe I have. So if you fish straight braid or straight fluoro with your chatterbaits, no problem. If you run braid to leader, that's gonna bug you. All right, looks like we had some technical difficulties there for a minute, but we're back. Kind of jumping around a little bit. But there was one more category I wanted to cover, and that was a few swim baits. So I've been looking at these, but I haven't actually fished one myself. But you can learn a lot from the reviews. One reviewer mentioned the paint was chipping off of one of these colors. And so anytime I see that in the reviews, I immediately look for something like this, where it's a little bit more translucent of a color. And usually that helps the paint hold up a little bit better, because there just isn't as much paint on it. A lot of times, especially those chrome finishes, they just don't last. They peel off. And that could be a manufacturing thing, that could be a heat thing, a lot of different reasons, storage thing. But anyway, that's usually my go-to. I go for those more translucent, transparent colors like this, just to minimize any kind of paint issues. And then the other thing that reviews mentioned was this lip can fall out, especially if you bang it against rocks and docks, which I understand. That's definitely a reason to knock out a lip on a bait like this. But you can keep a lip in place a little bit longer if you run a bead of super glue right along just where it connects to the plastic there, and let that dry, preferably overnight, so it's all nice and sealed up, and then it will be ready to fish. Let's look at a few more. I have the 13 Fishing Sunfish, but I don't have the shad. The shad is just a bulkier profile, and I just don't know how it would hook up, so I haven't actually fished it yet. These Savage Gear Pulse Tail Bluegills, the line throughs, are great. You can't fish them super fast, but I'm usually not fishing them fast anyway. But I have this pumpkin seed color. Can't really tell from the picture, but it's got an orange belly. Super realistic, and you can fish it either with this top hook or a belly hook. It's a little bit more stable with the belly hook, but it comes through weeds better with the top hook, and I usually end up fishing it with the top hook. This bluegill color, again, super realistic. Same thing, you can fish it with the top hook or the bottom hook. And you can't really tell from the picture, but it's got more of a creamish white belly. And I fish those on a slow retrieve, usually in the springtime. But great baits, especially on sale, pretty reasonably priced for what they are. I used to fish a lot of these grass pigs when they were in the Havoc lineup. I haven't fished the power bait version, and I haven't fished these HD prints. Sometimes those HD prints can be a little stinky, and the plastic can be a little stiffer. Yeah, so I just be aware of that. And sometimes I'll leave if a bag shows up and it has a really strong odor, I'll leave it open all winter until I go to fish them in the spring, and that seems to help with the odor. Let's see, these are very similar to Kitex. I think everybody has kind of a version of these. I mean, they're all over this page. The Saucy Swimmer, it's kind of their version of a Kitech. But for the power bait version, only I think 1 or 2 colors is on sale. So you just check before ordering that whatever you want to be on sale is actually on sale. I fished these a little bit. This is a kind of a knockoff of a Megabass Dark Sleeper. A little different bait, but I like them. I think I like the Dark Sleeper better, but these are significantly cheaper. These Tackle HD swimmers, it's sort of like in between, I don't know what, a NetBait Spanky and a Kitech, or Reactions Innovation Skinny Dipper, the little one, the Little Dipper. But they have a reputation for being pretty durable. And that's the problem with a lot of these baits, is this tail is so thin, so fragile, they just get bitten off and then the bait's useless. So durability is great as long as they still kick. Speaking of that, the Kick and Zako, this is not a very durable bait, but it does work. Some people like those as chatterbait trailers. This is another Berkley power bait, the Champ. I like these. I use a perch color, like a natural perch, and there's also a fire perch color. I use those in the spring on a weighted EWG hook. Those are pretty good baits. Trying to see if there's any other. This NetBait Spanky, it's kind of a knockoff of the Reactions Innovation Skinny Dipper, but the difference is they're not as heavy as the Skinny Dipper, and the weight of the Skinny Dipper is what I really like for fishing it weightless. But if you're going to fish it with a weighted EWG hook, with a twist lock on the front, something like that, the weight isn't a big factor, or you want it for something like an Alabama rig. I think it only is on sale in a few colors, so just check that. And I think that's it for swim baits. Difficulties there. Let's look at some hard baits. So the Berkley Chopo is a great lure. It's very, very similar to the River to Sea Whopper Plopper, except this tail piece, instead of being a soft rubbery plastic, I guess, is a hard plastic. And so it ends up being a lot louder than the River to Sea Whopper Plopper. And that might be a good thing, depending on what you want. If the water is murky or there's a lot of weeds, you want the fish to find it. But both are great baits. I tend to fish the 110 size and larger. The smaller ones sometimes can spin. Sorry, it's the 105 and the Chopo. But I fish the 105, the 120 a lot. Bone's a great color. They have a lot of good colors. This Maverick color, which I would just call black. But those are, I mean, staples. And if you're in clear water, this Ghost Bluegill is pretty nice too. Comes with good split rings, good hooks. You just open the package and fish it. This 6 Cent Speed Wake, I'm not really sure why there's 2 of them here. They're the same lure, I believe. Maybe this one has a little bit different eye. But I've fished these baits, and they are wake baits. They're true wake baits. They will crank just a little bit underneath the surface if you really get them going. But this would be a bait that you might throw if they stop hitting the Chopo in the morning. Try throwing a wake bait and see if they go for that. Yeah, they will blow out if you reel them too fast. They don't cast very well. There's no kind of weight transfer system, so you kind of have to lob it and not put everything you have into the cast. These Chopos cast great, especially in the bigger sizes. But both of these are good baits. The Head and Spook Boyo topwater walking bait. These are kind of just downsized super spooks. So they're little baits. Maybe 1/4 of an ounce, 3/8 of an ounce. 3 inches and 3/8 of an ounce. I got a couple of these when they first came out. There's a bone color. It's pretty hard to go wrong with bone. The one I like is Okie Shad. I did pretty well on smallmouth on that Okie Shad color. There's also this Inshore Candy color. I tried that in saltwater. I didn't do too much with it, but if you wanted some kind of bolder color to stand out from all the bait fish, that might be a good idea. But one thing I did have to do is I added a feathered treble to the back because it wanted to dive just a little bit. And that feathered treble on the back kept it from diving, and that was just a little trick, and it worked great, and now I love it. It's a little bait, but it's a lot of fun to fish. The 3DB Pencil 100. This is a great bait, and the color I like, if I could find it here, is this Real Gizzard Shad. The pictures online don't do it justice. It looks really good, especially when it's moving in the water. And for my herring lakes, this is a really great bait. There's a very similar lure that I think is still on sale too. I don't know why they have it at the end here, but it's the 3DR. And basically they're identical baits. They're a little bit different, I think, in the specs in terms of the weight, but they're both 4 inches long. They both cast great. They both walk great. They have pretty standard VMC hooks. The split rings aren't anything special, but they're functional. They're probably not VMC hooks, but that kind of round bend, average sharpness, they're fine. They're functional, but once you wear them out, I'd say you should replace them. It doesn't come with a split ring on the nose, so you can tie a loop knot or add a split ring. But they're great baits, especially at this price, and especially with the extra 20% off. If I didn't already have a pile of them, I'd probably get more. Rip baits. I fished these two because they were on clearance before, and they don't suspend perfectly. They are floaters, so you have to mess with them a little bit with the split rings and the trebles. This one, it was easier to get dialed in because it came with pretty small trebles, so I just had to go up a size and add some heavier split rings. This one came with pretty big trebles, and it floated anyway, and so that one's been a little bit harder to get dialed in. But eventually I will get it dialed in. This Be-Freeze, it's really just a Lucky Craft 78. So they're small baits. They do work though. I think the Be-Freeze is a Japanese term, or maybe there's some new colors here too. But if you like a Pointer 78, this is the same bait. I haven't fished this one too much. I think this one is the floater. I have to read the fine print sometimes. Yeah, slow floating action. That's not what I want in a jerkbait. So that would be something that I would skip, but they have another, another shadow wrap that is a slow sinker. So you just have to kind of read the fine print and make sure you're getting what you want to get. And it'll make a world of difference, especially in cold water. All right. Go through a few of these. Not many. Mentioned the Jabberjaw in one of my previous videos. It's a great bait. It's the action somewhere between a chatterbait and a square bill. And some days the fish really seem to like that. Maybe if you were catching them on a chatterbait and they started short striking, you could try a Jabberjaw if you're in a place that weeds allow you to fish a crank. and you'll get those fish because it's just a much better hookup ratio on a crankbait than a chatterbait if they're short striking on that day. I just picked up one of these small or ATV square bills. I haven't fished it, but I know the 1.5 cast great, comes through cover great. That's about all I can say on that for now. I've got the Fritz side, and it's not the big end, it's the other one. I guess it's the average size, and it doesn't, there it is, the Click and Fritz side. It doesn't cast as well as I'd like, but it's probably about average for a flat side bait. What was the other one? This 75 also doesn't cast great, but if you need a finesse style crankbait, a thinner crankbait for colder water, that's another good choice. Just keep in mind it's going to be a little bit harder to cast than some of these other baits. There's a lot here. I can't go through all of them. The Brat is a great bait. I haven't fished the mid-size too much, but to me what it is a deep diving square bill, and you don't see too many deep diving square bills. So there's, for the regular Brat, it has a size 3, I think, bill, and then a size 5, and you don't see too many small square bills with a bigger lip like this, which enables them to get down. So it's a somewhat of a unique bait. They have a lot of great colors. I'll go through just a couple of these. This carbon color in clear water I've done really well with. And what's the other one? It's not chartreuse shad, it's Homer's Buddy. This is the color I like in kind of stained water. Fish seem to dig it. And what you can do with those two different size lips is you can kind of dial in the crankbait to run just so it ticks the tops of the weeds and occasionally snags but not buries itself in the weeds. That's mostly how I use it anyway. Shad Raps have been around forever. They catch a lot of fish. If I had to pick only one, I'd get this 7 size because the cast's a little better, and it's another good cold water crank. Strike King Hybrid Hunter, I like this one, and the Junior too. It's a loud bait, but they work, and they do come through cover better than some others. I mean weeds for cover, not wood. Scamp, that's another loud bait. If you need that for really dirty, muddy water. All right, let's move on. Do a couple lipless baits. The Knock and Trap, I believe, is the one knocker version of the Bill Lewis. So the Bill Lewis, it had, the original had a ton of BBs in it, super loud. It's kind of obnoxiously loud, and sometimes that's the deal. But sometimes they want that one knocker, and it's a very different noise, a very unique sound. It sounds more like a Super Spook, something like that, with that, or a Vixen, that loud one knocking rhythm. And on one day they might like something with a lot of BBs. On the next day they might like that one knocker. There's a lot of baits here. I can't go through all of them. Frogs. Get some good deals on frogs in the winter. And I really like this Scum Frog Painted Frog series. I always go with the 5/8, but they've got I guess it's a new way of painting the frogs, and they can come up with some really detailed patterns. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but what I do is I run a thin bead of super glue right around that brass button or steel button, whatever the button's made out of. I run a little thin bead of super glue, and you don't worry about that button coming out after you catch a bunch of fish. But they're great baits. They're really soft, great hookup ratio, come through weeds pretty well. And I like this bone color. And they have a black color too, except they call it like moon dust or something like that. New moon. New moon is what they call it instead of black. But basically it's black. It's got just a little bit of white. Yeah, if you only had a couple of these, new moon, that white color or bone color, and then maybe a chartreuse. Like that bullfrog or that yellow and red fire tiger, green tea. Yeah, it's a great bait. I also really like it in the kayak. That's probably my favorite hollow body frog for the kayak because it is so soft. It collapses nicely and you get good hook sets even when you're sitting in the kayak. This style of frog I've kind of gotten away from because I like the Z-Man, what is it called? Toads. The Z-Man Toads, so much better. Z-Man Goat Toads, that's what it's called. Z-Man Goat Toads. Now this one isn't on sale, but it's made of that Z-Man material. You get 3 per pack. They're only $5. It will float a 5/0 mustad grip pin hook. And comes in black, comes in white, comes in some of these chartreuse belly colors. I like this copper truce color, and it comes in the deal color too. So at least if you're around bluegill, sometimes I like these colors with a little bit of blue in them. Again, they're not on sale, but that's the style I've gone to instead of these hollow body frogs with the kicker feet. I just find that the goat toads last longer, and they're just a really good deal. There's nothing against some of the other frogs with the kicker legs. It's just kind of the direction I've gone in. I can't remember if there's anything. Oh, service unavailable. You know what? I think I'll take that as a cue to wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching. If this was helpful, please hit the like button so I know you like the content. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!